I'd like to welcome you all to the seventh edition of Behind the Grow with my very special guest, Jair Velleman.
Hi
Jair has
guys.
been a good friend of mine for, I think, I'm trying to figure it out, 20 years, and has been one of the very few people who has had a massive impact on my career. I cannot say that for too many people, and quite a very well-known guy in the industry. So I'm really happy to have you here, Jair.
Thank you. Great being with you in Canada.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, Celia said I shouldn't, kiss your ass or wear the hat. I said I'm not wearing the hat to kiss his ass. I said I'm wearing the hat because it's nice and because I'm interviewing you. But I love this hat. So there you go. So, uh, you're very different to me than a lot of people. Even though I've had like Jason Stanley on his podcast, and we went to elementary school together, or other people that I've known for 20 years. But you and I, it's a little bit different. I have been working in the industry already for several years, and then I had a customer in California, Townsley. What's his name?
Evan.
He was, yeah, he ended up to be not such a nice guy, but he did do me that one great favor. He says, "Oh, you're going to Cannabis." It was my first Cannabis 19 years ago or 20 years ago, whatever it was. And he says, "You have to meet this guy, Jair." So I said, okay. And I emailed you or whatever it was. And then I met you. And at the time, I think I met your partner, Case.
Yes, Case.
And it was KJ Products was your company. And you were you were a Dutch distributor?
Uh, I was kind of hustling. I think we first had a grow shop, and it
Right.
was KJ Trading, and I figured out you could hardly make any money in the Dutch market on hydroponics. Was an old market, and there was no money left. Like you can see currently, there's same happening all over the world. And so I started importing goods by the container and then delivering them to other stores and so I wasn't really a full wholesaler, but we did some products, some
Yeah.
specialty products.
Well, that's it. So I know I was introduced to you then, and then I at the time was working for Ecosystem.
I remember.
And it was actually just yeah, you remember, because then we hit it off right away, obviously, because
Yeah,
within a year you had offered to give me some space in your booth at the High Times Cannabis Camp, which, if no one went to this event back in the day, it was 5 days, everybody smoking inside, not these big halls. It was, relatively
tiny.
the smokiest, loudest, longest 12-hour days every day, 12-hour days from 10 to 10. And you were sick that week. I don't know if you remember. So every night we'd finish up, you'd go to bed because you were done. You were sick. And I was left to wander the streets of Amsterdam by myself.
Ooh, that's horrible.
Oh, it was all right. I actually enjoyed it. Talking to strangers. I actually had I don't know if you know this story. I had a Superman moment. I've had a couple in my life where I should have been hurt. I should have been maimed. I'm walking down, smoking a joint, minding my own business, 1:32 in the morning, and I take a step left. I don't look, and a fucking bike hits me. And this guy was cooking. And I barely moved. I didn't fall down. I didn't get hurt. He went about 8, 10 feet in the air. He got launched off his bike, crashes to the ground, gets up ready to kill me. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm just a stupid Canadian. And he goes, oh, there's something about being lucky here from Canada. And he takes his bike and he drives away. Yeah, that happened to me.
uh,
Every night raining. But
yeah, well, I'm an Amsterdam local. I live here in center Amsterdam, and I can tell you that I hit one or two tourists a year that step in front of my car that just don't look, and they don't see the difference between the sidewalk and the actual street, and
I didn't,
they
yeah.
just step back and want to take a picture of something, and they just
Oh,
step in front of the car.
there was there was no one else anywhere besides me and him too. It wasn't like there was people everywhere. It was raining. It was middle of the night, but he was cooking.
But no,
And I
I know. Listen, it happens almost a couple of times a day. and it's always
Yeah,
shit
I bet.
when it actually happens.
Yeah. So we did this cannabis cup together, 5 days. You let me have the ecosystem in your booth, which you thought was a crazy product, and it was. At the time, though, Regina was selling. I think he sold 2,500 units just in the UK, and this is a machine that's $3,000, right? So he did some really
I know.
cool business.
I would love to have one right now, just to as a toy. Like you can't really be a serious cannabis grower with one of the ecosystems, but I would love to do herbs and stuff like that. And
It grew great. It grew amazing weed. It's just not for a large facility. It's ridiculous.
no, no,
And then
it was ridiculous anyway. It was just a really fun thing.
it worked. It was ridiculous.
It
120
worked.
plants.
But
Yeah,
we had crazy
120
stuff.
plants.
Let's be honest. We back in the day in hydroponics, we had seen some crazy system with rotating lights like helicopters and frequency water and stuff that would
Oh
give you
God,
three hundred percent more yield. And
oh God, you name it. The spinning machine that made a vibration that made the
yes,
plants.
yes,
I actually sold
yes,
those for a while, but let's not talk about that.
yeah.
Um, and then after that, I only spent a year with him. And then I was at Bright Light for a year, and you were continuing at KJ. Now, where did Gavita come in on the timeline from there?
Uh, I was busy with KJ products. And at a certain moment, me and my partner Twan were kind of like splitting up a little bit, and like he was going a different way that I was going, and I jumped kind of. We already had part of Gavita, and I kind of went and stopped being a wholesaler and wanted to really focus on the company for like full time, because I also believed Gavita was a winner.
Yeah,
And I'm like, that's something special. And I saw that, and I was like, I'm going to be spending my time on that, and that was kind of like, I don't know, that's already 12, 13 years ago, something like
and
that.
what about Mammoth Tents? That came before Gavita?
That came before Gavita.
Right, because I
With
know because I when I left Ecosystem, I started working for Biofloral. I did 4 years at Biofloral, and I brought that first 10 by 20 foot tent into Canada, set it up at the office, and Frank thought I was completely out of my fucking mind. He couldn't believe I convinced him uh to bring that in.
Yep,
But
they were great. They were great. I remember that I was talking to the guy that made those tents for me, and he's like, "What do you want?" I'm like, "I want a tent that I can like shove into a container, like straight up, just shove it in. That the whole container is finished." Because those that they're actually made for shipping containers. That was the
right,
idea. You put up a shipping container, make a tent, slice the tent into the shipping container, or in some room that you have, and then you're
a
just done.
warehouse.
You got like a full grow room. Yeah, and the guy is looking at me. He's like, "What do you want?" I'm like, "I want stainless steel corners, and I want like thick tubing and thick
Nice.
material, and I want the bottom to be made of swimming pool material." And like, and he was just looking at me. He's like, "You know how expensive those tents are going to be?" I'm like, "I kind of understand how expensive they're going to be." So, yeah, I remember on the moment we ordered all those containers, and the first order was like 4 or 5 containers. Before they landed, we were sold out.
Yeah, it was I mean, there was a couple other ones at the time that were quality, but it certainly was a premium tent, and there was nothing like it in size. That's for sure.
No, there was nothing in that quality because it was just the first heavy duty tent. It was just, and that was fun. And I remember that, like, and with Secret Jardin, I took Secret Jardin to the US. That was the first reflective tent, and that was in the time that all the white tents were off gassing. So that captured the market pretty well. And also, I got screwed. I mean, before I became had like success with business, I got screwed many times over in this industry. I mean, I got screwed with my tent deal, and like I got all of the US, and they pretty much took it from me. And I remember I got screwed by Lumitech. I was used to be their distributor in Europe, and I got screwed by them. And I kicked their ass with Gavita. I promised I would kick their ass, and took Gavita, and I held a grudge because they almost killed my company.
Yeah,
So yeah,
you
it's
know the whole
business,
thing.
and you get like, and you know that, Eric, you get screwed many times. You've seen it happen.
Yeah, I've, I've been there myself. Uh,
Yes.
and so there's a couple stories there, but the one main point I wanted to make sure I tell this story, because for me obviously it's very important, was I had been at Biofloral for 4 years. Since our first meeting, we were just friends. So we would talk all the time. We talk about the industry and just share stories or
Yeah, we smoke weed together.
talk about strategy. We had all sorts of fun. I remember going to your house, and in case anyone doesn't know this about Jair, he used to live in a modest apartment with a well used couch and a kitchen that made delicious food, and he had his pets that would come in and out of the house freely were chickens in Amsterdam. It was hilarious. I wouldn't have guessed it in a meal. And he'd pick up his chicken and pet his chicken and put down his
I like
chicken.
my chickens. Chickens are cool. They have
Oh,
character.
listen, I have no problem with you liking chickens or chickens. They're delicious and they're lovely creatures. So I love
Yeah, but
chickens.
just shit everywhere. That's the
Yeah,
problem.
yeah. I wouldn't have chickens walking around my house, but it doesn't matter. It was fun. I quite enjoyed it. So I had been at Bioflora for 4 years, and there'd been some changes in the structure and how Frank wanted me to work, and I wasn't happy about it. I wasn't hugely unhappy, but I felt maybe I'd hit a wall there, and I started to talk to Celia about leaving Biofloral, and then what am I going to do? How am I going to maybe do something on my own? And it was 2 days after I had the conversation with Celia the first time. I had a conversation with you, and you're like, "Hey, I just started this magazine in Holland. We've made like 2 copies or 3 copies. We've made one edition. We're launching our first edition. It's already made in the UK. Kind of here it is. Would you like to do North America?"
No, we
And
were doing UK, the US, but I needed help.
yeah, well, the first US wasn't printed yet. You had not you had made some deals.
No, no, it was, but yes, it was on the line. US,
Yeah, yeah,
Australia, I think also.
yeah. It was not out. It wasn't printed. Because I remember having the conversation about the cover. So, but like I said, you'd already done the UK one for sure, and that was you. And there was 2 other partners. Well, Twan, I think anyone who knows you kind of knows Twan, and this guy Mike, who's kind of not so
But
much
Tuan
now.
was already out then because I split my company. Tuan took the wholesale company. I took Garniculture.
Yeah, but it was right at that time,
Yes,
because
correct.
when I had the meeting to join the company, I had it with you and Twan
Yes, so
in
that was
Amsterdam.
right at that time.
Yeah, so I got on, and then that happened. So it was, I mean, amazing timing. It was something that I had. I mean, I used to joke around. I could never even make a newsletter for Biofloral. For 4 years, I wanted to make them a newsletter, and I couldn't figure out my brain in terms of organization just couldn't do it.
I have deep respect for you because I learned a lot setting up Garniculture, and I had to go through all the mistakes that everybody makes who starts a magazine, and to start with a new edition every time and
and
the deadline. And it's such I have such respect that you're doing this for such a long time because I remember how hard it was.
dude, 14 years.
Yes.
It's insane. And for 10 years, because it was about 2.5 to 3 years is when we made the switch and Celia and I took over. So it's over 10 years. In 10 years, we have not missed a deadline.
Does it get easier?
If the market wasn't falling apart across the world, it would be easier. Like we are
Yeah, but
our
actually,
editor,
actually, maybe writing the articles and stuff like that, getting
uh
it together. Of course,
yeah,
with
it's
exceptional
good.
help from job. Let's
You're as good. Any company is as good as its employees. So if I didn't have Job and I didn't have Cat and I didn't have Celia, there'd be no garden culture. Even back when Annalise came in and helped out, even with that year of work that she did, I'm not even sure if we would have survived. Like the amount of organization that's needed, and I am not necessarily an organized person. I said if Celia, yeah, yeah, if Celia wasn't a unbelievably patient person, and I wasn't really good at what I do on the sales side, I mean, never mind divorce, like murder, and there'd be no magazine. So my editor, Catherine Sheriffs, I can't say enough about her. She's a professional journalist. She was a TV, personality in Montreal for a while. And just because of the nature of her family and young children, she didn't want to be on TV anymore, which is too much damn work. And we got just won the lottery of editors with her. So is it easier when you have an incredible editor? Fuck, a million times. And then we have Job, who we inherited from you. And when you're making a print publication, is it easier when you have a brilliant graphic artist who
Yes.
who you get along better with him than probably, he is. When I say, you hear a lot of people, oh, it's the nicest guy ever. Oh, he's the nicest guy. No, he's the nicest guy ever. Like, I still remember years ago wanting to offer him a raise, and he said no.
No, I remember having the same thing with him
Oh,
that he sends me an invoice and I look at Annalise and I'm like, this isn't right. And we actually like send him over more money than his invoice
well, that's,
actually
yeah,
stated, and because we just
yeah,
were feeling bad about it.
yeah.
And
No,
and the work he does is quick, it's amazing,
no.
it's
And
spot on.
so he's gotten better in the sense how fat. Like I could show, like if I take it off the wall. Look, this is just. I mean, hold it up. It's a cover on the very first edition. So to look at this could have been the last edition for how nice it is.
That edition, and that gives me still kind of a headache when I see it. That was 6 months.
Yes. Well, you guys, and then me for the first 2 years. I'll say I don't mind saying we were horrible. We had no media kit. We had no timeline. No one paid us. We had no receivables department. Mike, who was supposed to be running it, was a semi-disaster halftime. I still love the guy, but he was like in terms of organization. The key thing of running a magazine is organization. We had four fucking scatterbrain, no organ. And Mike didn't even care. Oh, we don't need that. We don't need that. And then I remember talking to Dan Fox, and him asking him his opinion. He's like, "Oh no, you need that." You need a media kit. You need deadlines. You need themes. You need to be fucking on the ball. It won't work. And I realized shortly after, a year and a half, that was one of the most stressful years. Even though I love doing it.
Also, it was exciting as hell.
Oh, listen, I
We
loved
just
it. I
winged it.
love doing it. Listen, when it was me and you, and we were like on the road, and we were going to trade shows, and then you were doing Gavita, and then like Jim and what's his name from Maximil giving me fucking shit and telling me I'm not welcome at their trade show. Meanwhile, you're inside in your Gavita booth. I'm like, come on, guys. No, it was amazing and it was exciting, and I felt even then that we were doing something special because education and information for me um, is something I've always been kind of passionate about, reading and knowing stuff and knowing people. So I've got to meet everyone, you know, like because we do the UK one for so long, because we do North America for now 14 years, 14, and I already knew a lot of people before that. I'm blessed that I the captains of our industry, most of them are my friends, you know, um, on the equipment side, and it's been an amazing ride, and I hope to be doing this right up until my, I'll say retirement, because I don't think that's my style, but like until I can't work,
Yeah.
until I'm just too old and no one wants
Yes.
to deal with a 70-year-old one day, or I don't know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. One of your kids will kick you out.
I don't. Well, Maya's going to be a teacher, and Case, he absolutely could take it over. You never know. He often says he used to say, "I want to work with you. I want to work with you," and I always tell him, "No, no, no, no. You go to school. You start something, and I'll work for you. You'll get the free old man salesman, and I'll teach you, and I'll train your people how to sell." But
But yeah, the garden culture definitely is one of it has a special little spot in my heart.
well, as it should. And it's a real passion project. I joke with people about it's not something, well, not in the way I'm doing it, that you're going to get rich on.
No,
It makes money. It's okay, but I could have taken infinite other paths to make more money. But there's not many jobs that are is as intrinsically satisfying as producing a piece of art, a piece of education, and then really being woven into, I like to think that we have that into the fabric of what is our industry and the culture of our industry, and especially after all these years. And getting the opportunity to try to convince everyone that print is still relevant, and I think it is,
well,
and
specialty print. I think if you're in a niche situation like garden culture is, it's a very niche environment. It's urban gardening, cannabis growers, and that's a very small, tiny little niche situation. And I think like you have gun magazines, and there are all kinds of niche kind of weird magazines around that still have a very possible good life because people like that stuff.
Well, and now if you go and look at Forbes or Bloomberg or any of the marketing societies or groups, and you look up, well, why is print still relevant? Like now it compares it just to digital marketing instead of just what it is, but it's different. You know what I mean? Like you said, our readers are growers. They're exactly who so many companies are trying to get a hold of. But you know what I mean? Back to the idea of that it's a wonderful career, and I honestly have you to thank for it. So, like I said, there's not many people. In fact, there's no one I'll ever interview unless I have Twan on the show, I suppose. But that had such you know when you say there's life is a series of doors. You know, every day you make a choice. Every day you can do something. Every day you could change your life. And that day when I said okay to you, and I said I open up the garden culture door and I walk through, it's the same door. It's the same room.
No, that was amazing, and it still is amazing.
Yeah, and so
And
that's
I think we both had huge because you had as much influence on my life as I had on yours. I think we just crossed a couple of times, and every time it came out with a lot of positive energy.
well, we
So
could talk
and that
about the
was
limo. We could talk about the limo ride story then.
sure. There's lots of stories we shouldn't be doing on this podcast.
No, it's totally fine. I think there's nothing we weren't did anything to. I mean, it wasn't perhaps then smoking in limos was look. The story is I'll keep it short. Jair was interested in how to. It was he was already had Gavita. We were already working together, and he really wanted to find a way. Correct me, stop me at any point here if you think I got the story wrong. It was a long time ago. He wanted to go after Sunlight Supply and really do a deal or Hydro Farm or go there. And I said, whoa,
Yeah,
whoa, 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 just wait a sec. There's a guy you got to meet. And at the time, it was Ross Haley. So I was really close with Ross. I haven't spoken to the guy in 10 years. It's kind of sad. Maybe if he'll watch this podcast and then call me, Ross, you have my
yeah,
number.
yeah,
Hasn't changed.
yeah.
And I said, I think that this guy is going to be the most important guy in the industry within 2 years. And if you get close with him, he'll help you. I don't know how. I refer to him as the Prince of Pot because he was marrying Larry Brooks' daughter at the time and that he was going to become very influential. And also, Ross had something, right? Ross has something. There's something
Oh,
special
dude.
about Ross.
Yeah, no, Ross is pretty amazing.
Yeah. So instead of what you did, we went to Sheldon Aberman's house
Oh my God, I remember that so clearly.
and we rented a limo.
Yes,
And me, you, Ross, and Tuan went from LA to San Francisco,
yes,
visiting shops.
with a lot of joints and bottles of vodka and
It was we had a high like a Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Now you may not know this movie because it's an American movie
and then we
reference.
were trying to use the excuse like this is a sales trip. So we were actually stopping at stores because we have to make the excuse.
Oh
It
yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
it wasn't a sales trip. It was we were
it was.
partying.
We saw
And
like
and,
five stores, but
I
we
still remember
had
stopping at a store
food.
and the door opens and first
Yeah,
this cloud of smoke
and
just
we
opens
fell
up.
out.
Uh,
I fell out anyway,
Yeah,
laughing
we
out
just pretty much
loud.
fell out the limousine because we're drunk
Yeah.
as
Well, yeah,
like we're like
it was.
yeah.
Yeah, and
And
I
I
don't
still see the
remember this.
owner of the store looking at us like, what
Oh
the?
no, they loved it. So I don't know if you remember this part of the story. So I was working at the time for Biofloral, and I was not going to get Frank to say okay to kick in five because it was $1,500 the limo, or it was 2,000. We all had to put in 500, and I said, Jesus, my boss is not going to let me put 500. I felt like a cheap bastard, but I was just a little sales rep for a company. So I got Sheldon. I told Sheldon, hey, Sheldon, if you pay for my cut of the limo, you can go get some magnets of your lighting company and your nutrients, and you can stick them on the side of the limo. Fine. The conversation ended. I was just joking. Half an hour later, he's back. He left. He left his house. I didn't even know. He went to the store. He got the magnets made, came back, handed me an envelope of $500 and the magnets. Went outside, put the magnets on the car, and I gave my $500 to the pot. So we drove to, and that was the beginning. And obviously, you fell in love with Ross, and he had a big part, I think, in the end of Hawthorne and Gavita and all of
Oh
that.
yeah, he had a huge part in that. I mean, yes.
Yeah, so that was really nice. So I want to tell another story, which I think was hilarious. So we were at the trade show in Tacoma, Washington, and the double ended had just been launched. If anybody knows Jair, he when he gets selling, a lot of people like he used to really be the sales guy. So it was always a sales pitch, always a sales pitch. And Jair was a very and is a very passionate salesperson. And he's telling me, "Oh, I get 10 calls a day, 20 calls a day of these growers saying they changed from a double-ended to a
From a single-ended
single-ended to
to
a
a double-ended.
double-ended, and they're getting 20, 25, 30% more yield. All of them. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, dude, relax, fuck. Like I got it. I got it. You don't have to keep telling me. It was funny. And then so at one point, I'm in the trade show, and Jay wants to go smoke a joint or smoke a cigarette. He wants to go outside. He goes, "Hey, can you just watch my booth for a minute?" I'm like, "Yeah, I guess, I guess so. Fuck, we were partners in the magazine. Of course, I'm gonna watch your booth. I get to be in the Gavita booth. I'm the Gavita guy. It's fun." So he leaves. 10 seconds later, fuck, a guy comes up and he goes, "Oh my god, you guys saved my project. I get 30% more yield just with your bulbs." I'm looking at him like, did Jair just fucking send you over here? Am I being punked? He's like, what? I asked him this. I said, Jair fucking did it. He's like, no. So we talk. He tells me the story. I said, oh, that's amazing, man. I said, Jair will be back in 10 minutes. Come tell him. He'll love to hear you. He leaves. Anyway, two more guys come by within 15 minutes. Oh my God, I changed your life. You're the best thing ever. I can't believe it. I can't. The light have changed it. 25% more yield. Anyway, three people in 15 minutes. You come back. I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude. I guess you meant it. So that was obviously for you the most important product you've ever sold. And at the time, it was the most important product in the industry on a financial side. Like you told me before, how many containers on the water on a good day?
Well, it depends, but I think on when we were on the height of our production, because we couldn't produce any more. There was more people wanted more, but we couldn't produce more because we couldn't get the amount of parts that we needed. And we were at 2 to 3 containers a day.
Yeah.
And if you know that it all went, we built those things in Holland because that's where we built those lights, and we were sending them overseas. So just the amount of containers on sea at any given moment, because you have a 4 week transit.
Yeah.
So that was like just the amount of lights was
Obscene.
it was obscene.
Yeah. So
And,
and
and,
again,
and actually, on the height of the it wasn't even funny. I actually went home for 6 months because there was nothing to sell.
yeah,
Because
insane.
we couldn't produce what the market would actually wanted. So I
Yeah.
just went home because everybody was angry at me because they couldn't get enough. And so I remember actually the height of that moment. Was it actually that fun? If people are like, oh, how was it when it was like really cranking? And I'm like, actually, it wasn't fun because everybody was angry at me. It was actually the beginning that was really a lot of fun. Like really
That
going to
trade
the
show in
grow.
Tacoma.
No, going to the growers. I remember I started in Humboldt and with Roy Gomez actually,
Yeah.
and he kind of helped me to open doors back in the day. He had like a couple of beautiful stores in Humboldt, and had a nutrient line, and he was like really well connected, and he opened doors for me. And it gave me the opportunity to have growers tested that had a lot of influence, and that was kind of the way that it happened. And I think taking those trips up into the mountains of Humboldt with, like back in the day when people were like still, uh,
Dusty.
well, that he was one of them. And but yeah, that Govelo, and I've
Covelo,
seen. I remember I've seen stuff that no tourist ever seen.
dude.
Still, a lot of people these days never seen.
No, that was the true Wild West of cannabis, Covelo in the early days. I mean, I didn't go, but the pictures and the stories.
It was crazy. I've been there a couple of times. Yeah, there are stories to tell. At a certain moment, you go up somebody's mountain, and there are a couple of guys with quads and face masks and guns, and you're like, oh shit, like stuff gets exciting. It
Yeah,
was just different times.
yeah,
Very very exciting though.
yeah.
And I came to those mountains and I saw all the greenhouses and all the grows, and it was a dream.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh God, this is the dream. Like if people ask me, what do you want in life? I'm like, I want to be like one of those guys and have my own mountain and carve my mountain and start to grow. And
yeah.
well,
Nice.
these days that dream doesn't exist anymore.
No, it's a different style of dream, and there are some people, doing amazing in the cannabis industry. But there's a lot of people suffering in the cannabis industry also, of course, between
Yeah.
regulations and prices and but yeah, and then the other thing you guys did, which was interesting because some people laughed at it, and in the end, of course, it became the norm, is your reflector. Back when you first came in, we were at the end of the Magnum XXL, a reflector bigger than my table. Like
Yes.
they were 5 feet by
Well,
4
the
feet. I remember.
people said if you have bigger reflectors, you get more light.
But yeah, you lose less light. It's like,
Yeah. Well,
okay.
yeah, well, that wasn't very clear. There's no science on that. It also doesn't matter. But everybody got sold on very big, expensive
Oh yeah.
reflectors, and they
And
didn't need them.
air cooled, fucking everywhere.
Air cooled was horrible because you were cooling your bulbs, and HPS bulbs, they actually need to run at a certain temperature, a pretty
Dirty.
high temperature, to really get their full output. And on the moment you're actually cooling an HPS bulb, you're like you're getting a voltage drop. It's like dimming it.
Yeah, it's just
So
bad. And
so
then
so
there's
people were dimming their HPS lights without even knowing it. So just the technology got all screwed up, and people believed in some horrible science.
no.
And I remember when I came to the market, people were laughing at me like you have to be kidding.
Even
And
me,
and
I
then
did.
I told people, well, you have to don't. And that was it was not just selling the light; it was telling people to grow a different way.
Yeah,
I think I was the first commercial consultant in the USA for
yeah.
cannabis.
Well, especially for
I
lighting.
told people
Yeah,
to light rooms from wall to wall, to run lights high up,
I,
make overlays, create uniformity at canopy height.
yeah.
Don't use aisles, use rolling benches. Use all the space because we're not lighting concrete.
That's it.
So if you look at this was two very simple fixes, but if you look at it, that's the style everybody's growing now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and also, and of course, just like professional horticulture,
Yes,
it
there's no secret sauce. It was just I took what I knew from real horticulture and I took it to cannabis
yeah. No,
with
it
a
was,
with a beautiful technology. But it wasn't just the light; it was the light and the new way of growing.
and then I would say, for what it's worth, and almost literally, you had a product peaking at the absolute greatest time for anyone who had a good product to sell because this company, Hawthorne, came in with $1 billion to spend, about $1.4
Yeah,
billion.
well, there's always a moment that you're building a company because we were the largest in the world for horticultural lighting. There's always a moment you're like, oh shit, nobody has the money to buy me. You're the biggest dog around.
Well, no one was
And
buying
and and
anybody
then it's
back then, right?
and it was like, okay, not a problem. I was really enjoying my company.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it wasn't like I was looking to sell, but also did the thought come in like, hey, if I ever want to sell, there's nobody who can buy you.
Mm,
That's the problem. Like you look at your EBITDA, you look at the value of the company, and then some big American company came by. It's like I wanna buy your company, and they throw out a number that I was like, okay,
yeah.
you know, I can put secure my family and make sure that I don't have to work for the rest of my life, and I can do stuff that I value a lot. And in the end, I'm still running a company with lighting because I love fucking lighting. But
No, you love
but
the industry in general. Yeah.
yes, I love the industry in general. Yeah, that was thing. Somebody offered the money, and then I sold the company, and then I became very depressed. First, you're riding a high for 3 months and partying, and like you're buying a McLaren race car and a big house, and at a certain moment you're like, okay, cool, and then came the come down.
Well,
And that was pretty rough. And like you don't know why you wake up in the morning. Like, what are you going to do? Like, why? And the company was really a part of me. And the come down was kind of rough. And I had to like do some soul searching for at least 2 years to figure out what I was going to do next. Because like, if there's no reason to wake up anymore, I mean, like I said, money doesn't make nobody happy. It's
I mean,
just
it can help, but you have to have all the other stuff too, and
yes.
purpose. I think, and there's a lot
Well,
of
I think purpose is.
Japanese proverbs.
I figured out that purpose is way more important than money.
Yeah, well, they're both. Again, if you have no money and a lot of purpose, you can be pretty unhappy too. But if you have both,
No,
and
no,
you have a
no,
loving wife and beautiful children,
that's
and
the
you,
trick.
yeah, having Annalise too, which we probably should bring up at least once. I'd ask you, where do you think you'd be without Annalise? And my guess would be in a ditch.
No, I definitely will be in the ditch. First thing, when I had nothing, I met Annelies. So we started from nothing, both but together, both of us. She supported me and pushed me and got the best out of me. So definitely. And when we did make the money, she made sure I didn't fuck up using it, or
Yeah,
not too much,
she got you
because
to marry her.
making money is a lot harder than spending it.
Yeah. Well, again, yeah, you wouldn't be the first guy to make millions and then have nothing, and
No, I
you
can see it happen really easily.
yeah, yeah, I know. You hear about it every day, right?
Yeah.
Especially lottery winners, people who didn't have to work so hard for it. Sometimes are just
Yeah,
quicker to blow it.
she keeps me grounded, and I believe that that's definitely part of the success. Because if you don't have a partner that backs you up and pushes you when you go and you level up to the Premier League, and you have to work 16 hours a day, all day, every day, for year after year after year. If you're in the Premier League, and your home front, your back office, your personal back office is not helping you or backing you up, or giving you support, or giving
Yeah,
you mental energy, you're not going to make it.
yeah, no, yeah. As in, I agree 100%. I don't think I ever, certainly wouldn't be where I am without Celia, and not only that she helped me it with my work. Well, she's my partner in the magazine, so she probably does more work than I do. But it's just to have and know that there's someone who loves you behind you and will do anything for you. And then, of course, that just gets amplified when the two of you have children, and then you become a family. And I mean, you have quite young children still. Mine are a little bit older. You started a bit later than me,
I
but
started way later, but
yeah, yeah, yeah. But
uh,
and
but-
that again
but
is and that just gets better and better too. Kids can be pretty difficult when they're young, but there comes a point when they just, for me anyway, that they just give back. Like my two kids have fed my happiness uh, nonstop for the past, well, their whole lives. Really. I'm very blessed that my children give me almost no trouble. And I'll give you some news into the whole world. Who cares? I'm sure nobody cares. But we just got a email from the principal. Most people don't want to be getting emails from the principal about their kids, but this time was to let us know that Case made the honor roll. So this is the first time he makes the honor roll at school. So he's star athlete in everything he plays and on the honor roll. So I couldn't be more, proud of that kid. So, and he's going to New York tomorrow for a school trip, New York City.
he's
For a
probably
week.
going to be a better guy than you are.
I mean, that's the goal. He is. I said I'm very, very lucky. Both my children are very sensitive, empathetic, loving people, and that's what I always what I set out to do. So you were retired 2 years, approximately. Retired, is that what you'd call it? In between the two, and
Well,
then you
yeah. Well,
decided.
I think I was not retired for 2 years. I was retired, I think, for about 4 years.
Oh, was it that long?
But it took me 2 years to get my. It took me 2 years to get all the stuff back together. So I was retired for 4 years.
Okay.
Also because I had a non-compete that lasted 4 years, and
You better say 4 years. Sorry, yeah, it was 4 years.
yeah, and I still had a feeling that we could do something special in lighting. So on the moment, my partners started back up with Dutch Lighting Innovations. I got an invitation like, Jair, you want to join up with Dutch Lighting Innovations, and looking at the fun things like the UV light. That was something that really interested me, and I'm like, putting a new technology out like that. One more time, putting something like the last time I helped growers to grow a lot more wheat, and this time I'm trying to help growers to grow better product and get a
Well,
higher quality, definitely for indoor growers, because
and
I'm
you
like,
you've always been a voice of education. So I think, and just like we hung out in Prague, and we still speak semi regularly since forever. And one of the subjects that now I'm going to be writing about in the magazine, and I'm going to cover it in a couple different articles and through different angles with Mex, who works with you now. We could talk about him after. Um, is light degradation, and I realized this as I joined something called the Grow Off, the Great Canadian Grow Off, where 151 people get a clone, and we compete against each other. We know nothing about the strain other than it's called Pepe Le Kush, so I know it's Kush variety. And they don't tell us anything, how many weeks, or they give us a poorly rooted clone. That's hilarious. Everyone gets a poorly rooted clone, so you got to figure it out. It's not just a well rooted clone. Anyway, and I was talking to you, and then you very kindly said, "Well, maybe you should get a new DLI light over that and a UV light over that." I said, "Ooh, Jair, I will take you up on this generous offer." So, I'll give props to Hydrotech because we were talking at like 8 o'clock, or your 8 o'clock, say my 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and by noon the next day the lights were at my house. You're like, just right till your ruin. So I wrote till your ruin, and within, like I said, the next day the lights. So, oh wow! Now I was leaving the next day for Prague. So I was like, oh, Jesus, I'm going to. So go downstairs. I have no time to spare. I was leaving that day for Prague, actually. And I took down on my sand lights, which were great lights. Sand light is a
oops.
good light, but they were 8 years old. And I just never thought of it. I just didn't think about light degradation or how much light left. They seemed okay. They seemed okay. But because when it goes down by a 0.001% a week, you don't notice, or a day, you don't know. Anyway, I put on your light, I fired it up, and it was that holy shit moment, you know. And anyone who is been in a grow room enough and sometimes was negligent in changing their HPS lights. Oh, it went to 2.5 years, and you get some new Hortiluxes like back in the day, and you put them on, you'd be like, "Oh my god!" Like, fuck.
I'm probably one of the few people who can. I can look up in a grow room with HPS lights, and I pretty much can see with the eye how long they burned for.
Yeah. Well, again, now if you have enough of them, you can see it. If you shoot one in, it's so fucking odd. But when you're in a grow room and all your lights are pretty old, they're all old. When I turned it on, I was like, "Oh Jesus!" So now I've always been a Method 7 wearer. I'm a huge booster of that.
I advise everybody, and in HPS lights and with LED, definitely with
Yeah,
LEDs,
all of them.
to wear eye protection.
Yeah,
Um,
but I had it.
my eyes are fried. Like I have to be
Yeah.
honest.
Well,
Like
I've ever since I met them, I have had a pair outside the grow room. But in the last couple of years, and I realize it without realizing it, I'm not wearing them anymore. And when I turned on that light, it was so much brighter. And we're saying I replaced 700 watts with 800 watts. It's not like, in the old day, if you put 1,000 instead of a 400, obviously it's brighter. No, it was about and it was so much brighter that, and then we get into this story
well,
of light
there's the thing.
degradation.
Everybody can make a bright light, but the trick between a light and a great light is how long does the light stay bright? Because when you had those light fixtures 8 years ago, they were bright.
Oh yeah, yeah, and they grew better cannabis. Like I've
Yeah.
seen my
So
yields go
so
down,
so so
and I
it's not that lights are bright. It's like how long will the light stay bright?
yeah,
And if you look everybody's following professional horticulture, food production, and if you look into food production, they in big greenhouses they use totally different LED lighting. They have way more red, way less blue because you don't need the blue because the blue comes from the sun. It comes from outside. So it just has to add to the spectrum of the sun. So you want something with a lot of photons. Red has a lot of photons. Red also degrades as a color way slower than all the other colors, than blue or or white. So the degradation is way lower. So for a greenhouse, totally logic. So you have to understand that if you're in a greenhouse, you sell a light level. If you sell somebody 20,000 to 30,000 lights, you sell a light level, and you actually have to warranty a light level for a certain amount of time. Because if you don't, that's also why you don't see a lot of white label Chinese companies in horticulture, because people actually want a real warranty from a real company, that when the light degrades too fast, they can actually sue you on that.
It's
So
you
and that's something that in cannabis nobody understood when, and I wasn't there when
still don't.
LED really started going. I'm here now, and the problem is that everybody started buying LEDs. Oh, it doesn't degrade, or doesn't degrade in 10 years, or 50,000 hours of lifetime, and all that bullshit started coming out. Well, the 50,000 hours of lifetime is only in a certain situation, and that has to do not with horticultural lights, but with general lighting, and it has to do with an efficiency form, and that's old. It's bullshit. So there's a huge amount of degradation going on, and it all depends on what quality diode do you use. Are you overdriving or underdriving the diode? So the cooling of the temperature, it has to do with a lot of different things. And then what color are you using, and what are you doing, and so all those things together make for a good or a bad balance. The problem is everybody got sold on a pretty cheap Chinese technology, and people don't see the degradation, and people don't measure their lights.
I didn't
So
notice.
I expect that there are a lot of people out there that already have their LEDs, and actually think there are big facilities out there that have their LEDs for 3 years already, and they're actually already end of lifetime.
And and I think you and I discussed this in Prague. If I'm a master grower or head grower going to a large facility, I would have it in my contract that we measure the light on day one, we find out what it should be,
That's
and
the
then
story. That's the story I tell to
yeah,
people.
and
Like
then
you have
you
to.
better get it in your contract that you're going to change the lights because if I'm getting paid on yield,
Well,
if I get my
everybody knows the
bonuses
story
on
about that.
yield,
This is what I tell people. Everybody knows the story about the facility that hires a head grower, but it doesn't go up, it goes down. Then he hires a new head grower, and it goes down. And the problem is, it's not the head growers not doing their job. It's the lights degrading in front of their eyes,
that's it.
and they're clueless. And everybody knows the story, just nobody makes the click to the actual light output. So
Well,
I tell
and
people, if you
yeah,
get hired by one of those large companies, you make light measurements when you walk in on the first day,
and
and
find
you
out how
make
old the lights are.
yeah, and then you know, and you measure it the right way. There are wrong ways, there are good ways to do it. You have to have fixed measuring points, and you measure what's going on. Because if the lights degrade, and if you have really shitty cheap lights, I've seen lights degrade up to 10% a year.
That's it. And then you're fucked.
Well, you're fucked, because after 5%, you already have to start looking at your return on investment, because it might be cheaper to actually switch your lights.
Yeah.
So that means that some of those lights are actually end of lifetime after 6 months.
And we're not
If you
just talking,
actually make the return on investment calculation.
and it's not just yield, right? It's going to be quality. So your terpenes will get affected and your cannabinoids
Yes,
will get affected. So not only do you
some
have less,
colors some colors will degrade more than other colors, so you get a spectral shift at a certain moment.
mm, and then all of a sudden you're in one of the most competitive industries in the world with a subpar product and lower yield, and you wonder why you're going out of business.
Yes, and this is a big problem, and nobody understands that this is going on. People don't talk about it. It's a non-discussion, and people are scared for the actual truth about it, because it means that there's lots of facilities out there that actually need to think about changing their lights, and they don't. And they have no base, because they didn't make any measurements. They didn't buy a light level from a manufacturer. They have no clue what's actually going on in their grow room, and they think their lights will last 10 years, and they don't. Some of them maybe don't even last 2 or 3 years, and people don't know. It's actually pretty insane. In real horticulture, you won't see this happening.
No.
People actually know those the understanding the right questions, or actually do you doing your due diligence as a facility owner to understand what kind of equipment you're getting into your facility, and where is the warranty on certain things like light, what is about the most important thing in your indoor grow room, like yeah.
Yeah. No, it's like I said, it's one of those subjects. It's not very often I get onto a subject that as a educator or someone who's trying to disseminate information to people that's going to be really useful.
Honestly, Eric, you actually seeing this happen in your own grow room, that was a great eye opener.
Yep.
But that also, that to actually really start questioning what's going on, took you 7 or 8 years.
Yep. And it's not even a subject, it's something I've talked to you about before. It's not like it's a new subject to me, but I didn't. There's two things. One is that I never saw it, but I have seen my yields go down, but I just blame myself. I blame the
Oh,
strain.
you know my story about it. I tell you about it. But no, but this is the problem what everybody's having right now. It's like this people don't want to see that their expensive
Yeah.
equipment might be at end of lifetime.
Yeah.
And it might be already at end of lifetime for a while. If your
And it,
facility is not doing as good anymore, maybe it's not the genetics, maybe it's not the nutrients, maybe
yep.
it's not the climate, maybe it's the lights.
Yeah, or it's it could be obviously a combination of things, but some of them are easy to figure out, others are hard to figure out. And we normalize a lot of mechanical maintenance. Like you do 5 to 10,000, depending on your car, kilometers on your car, and you get your brakes done. You don't wait till your brakes don't work to get your brakes done. You prevent,
Well,
you
you have to understand, when your brakes are worn down.
Yeah.
And at this moment,
Oil
people have
change, I should say. Oil change to 5,000 kilometers. But brakes, yeah, you go to the garage, they check it out, and they tell you to change it. So you change it. You don't say, oh, no, I, you know, I'm not going to change my brakes. They're going to last me another 3 years. And next thing you know, you're dead.
Well,
So,
I think after
yeah,
if you're looking at LED, after 5-6%, you start degradation. You start making calculations on how much you're growing and things like that. If it's interesting to replace your lights and actually get that 6% back, maybe it's a year later. Maybe it's that year, depending on the market, the amount of money you're making on the crop. It's a pretty complicated calculation, but not a difficult one.
no, but it is a complicated and difficult decision on a cannabis firm that's not making a lot of money.
Yeah, but that's also if you keep going. I measured,
You'll make
like
less.
I said, I measured systems. There was this grow. I'm not going to call names out now, but they had this huge multi-tear system that was there for already 5 years. And that was interesting to me because I didn't see a lot of commercial 5-year-old LED grows. LEDs, I went there, made measurements. LEDs were down 50% in 5 years. So you have to understand over the last couple of years how much they were losing on
Oh, yeah,
every,
yeah, yeah.
it's insane. So
And it's obviously work again. I mean, my point wasn't to say that they can't afford to do it. They can't afford not to do it either. So the question ends up being is can they
you're
afford
going
to
out of
be in
if
this?
you don't do it, you're going out for business
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah,
yeah,
it's like you're like just slowly squeezing the life out of your facility.
yeah. It's slow suicide.
It's slow suicide. I was actually more horrible. Just stop it then, please.
Well, that's it. And again, I think for your industry, obviously, it's not a one-time purchase. It's not something that people will buy and then they don't have to think about their lights again for 10 years. Now, if they buy a DLI light, you come with a degradation guarantee, right?
On large facilities, we can do
Yeah, you said 500 lights.
we can do warranties. On small ones, that's very difficult because you can't sell light levels because you have to measure them at the right location. So if somebody has 4 lights, but I can tell you that the
Yeah.
technology that we're using for the big facilities that we give warranties and that we're selling to smaller growers is exactly the same equipment.
So
Pretty much we have to make sure that our degradation is um, below 1% on full spectrum fixtures, below 1% annually. So every year, and that should be there for the first 5 years.
And the light that I just fired up a month ago in my basement, how long am I safe before I need to replace
Well,
that light?
depending on your return on investment calculation.
I'm a hobby grower. What I want is to grow fire, Jay. I just want to have
Yeah,
how long is it like how long would you recommend a licensed
for a
facility to
hobby grower, it's so different than it is because you're not using the full potential of the light. So it's
yes.
kind of a hobby thing anyway. So
Yeah, but
I would
what is
say,
it,
but
5 years?
well,
Eight
that's what
years?
I would. That's that. Well, no, I tell commercial growers after 5 years you should start making that calculation.
Because you guys are 1% a year, plus or
Yeah,
minus,
for the first 5 years.
and then it's a little quicker after that.
Yeah, because it's because
Yeah,
degradation is not linear; it's exponential.
that's it. So, but I would still say, like, I would bet that those sound lights, because I have two different ones. One must be, like I said, 8 years old. The other one is probably 5 years old. The 5 year old one is noticeably brighter. The 8 year old one is to the point that I bet it's 50% of what it was when I got it.
Well, now think about all those facilities out there.
Okay, well that was the point.
It's astonishing, and people are questioning why they do poorly,
Well, this is why, yeah,
and because they don't expect that the answer it just doesn't come up in their heads because they look at the light and it's still burning.
yeah. Well, the thing you have it's when you get warranties for lights, you have a 5 year warranty. That means it's going to turn on.
No, yeah, it's a manufacturer warranty. It doesn't
Yeah.
say anything about light output or efficiency or anything. It just tells you it shouldn't be broken.
Not to give as I'm having you on the podcast to plug other companies, but are there other companies that offer such a warranty
Uh,
in
in
our industry
cannabis,
in cannabis? You're the only one.
yeah, as far as I know, we're the only
Yeah.
one.
Well, it's like I said,
And I
it's
don't
something
say
that
other companies can't do it. There are a couple of companies that are more geared to like large scale horticulture, food production, and flowers and stuff like that. They might also be able to do it because we're not in horticulture. We're not the only company, but in horticulture, you only have five other companies.
right.
There are like five players, and in cannabis, you have 80 or whatever. How many there are?
Well, and the Chinese, I call them no names. I mean, they have names of their brands, but when you go to MJ Biz, which I'll see you at next week,
Well, that's also a problem because people have seen that we've seen a lot of lighting companies explode or implode in the last couple of years.
yes,
A lot of LED companies. So you're buying your LED from a company that's not the true manufacturer of the product. They're just the importer under and the owner of a brand.
yeah.
And by the time the problem gets real, the company is gone. We've seen that a couple of times. So also for your due diligence to understand that you're buying from a true manufacturer instead of what I call a trading company. That
Well,
makes a huge difference in because
yeah.
you have to, yeah, as a company. I know a lot of people that have lights from a company that doesn't exist anymore, and that's horrible in maintenance.
So I want to back up to a subject we didn't touch on, which is your UV light. And
Yes,
when you started back in horticulture and back in the industry and back working with people, uh, you are absolutely the first company I know to come with such a product. Um, Two questions: is where did the idea come from, and
but
what's been the
the idea is very old. First thing we understand that the sun gives UV. Plants are geared toward the sun. So, and of course, we also know bar, but we also know that a lot of spectral parts outside of the bar region also do a lot on plant physiology and on plant reactions. So, we have seen over the last decades a lot of people playing with UV and um, seeing differences. The problem is that nobody had what we call a commercial solution to use UV in a true grow room. People were buying terrarium lights and all kinds of
right?
weird kind of like they're using all kinds of weird lights, and
Yeah.
nobody ever made something that was actually usable in the grow room. And that was the trick. The trick wasn't that we didn't know. The trick was that we knew and we finally made one.
Well, I'm very much looking forward to firing mine up. I was waiting to put it in between my two LEDs, so it's sitting waiting to go up. And do you have anything new coming? What's new with DLI, or are you just gonna keep on keeping on and educating people and
Oh,
selling your?
we're always trying to upgrade and take a look at technologies around to see if we can make new things. I mean, I think that's also the fun part of having a lighting company, that you can look at different things. I also have to be very careful what I say, because a lot of people love to imitate, and I want to make sure that I don't tell people too many secrets of what's going on. The only thing is, we're working hard on a new multi-layer system that's coming out. That's going to be um, revolutionary, because I believe it's the first compact system that has a low degradation. And that took a while to do because they have to be very narrow. And so you have less space for cooling and stuff like that. So we have to figure it out how to uh, make a low degradation multi layer system.
Nice. And you guys will be at MJ Biz in Vegas. I would ask you
Yes,
what your booth
we
number
will
is.
have a booth. I don't know the booth number, but
No. But it's a relatively large booth. It'll be easy to spot.
yes, just look up, somewhere will be DLI something.
Nice. I don't know if this podcast is gonna get out before next week, but if it is, I'll talk to my producer and see if he can get this clip out so that we can remind people to come and visit you. And
Yeah,
again, whether you're a hobby grower or a
come,
big
come,
commercial
you know,
grower,
you wanna know more on the ins and outs of what I had to discuss with you and about degradation and things like that. Like, there's lots more little things that are happening right now, and if you want to know the in and outs, come to the booth. We come to me, or come to one of the guys on the booth that are all very well informed, and they will explain you what's going on.
yeah. And then on the last bit for well informed, I am very pleased, and you are probably to be sharing your new employee Mex with the world. I was really thrilled to meet him in
Well, we want to
Berlin.
make this. Max is a true scientist, and he's a PhD in cannabis lighting, pretty much, and I
Yeah,
think the first one in the in the world. So it
yeah,
just gives us an opportunity to do better in house um, uh, scientific work, like
yeah.
looking for a new what's the new thing and what can we
Yeah.
make, and to have somebody with that kind of knowledge
Yeah.
being part of the great team that we already have,
He's
um,
yeah, he's wonderful.
because it's a small within DLI. The cannabis part is a small little team of four or five people, and they're all amazing. They're like, everybody needs each other. Max is going to be a part of that. We're all going to learn from Max. Max is going to learn from us, and yeah,
Yeah,
that's what's going to be, and what's
well,
going to be.
he's a great addition to the team. I'm very pleased to say that he has enthusiastically agreed to write for the magazine. So we'll be able to share so much of what you've been able to teach him, what he knows on a scientific front, to be able to explain the difference between what makes a good LED or a high performing
Well,
LED.
for people to know
Uh,
that, go to the DLI website. UV will help you with less problems with pests, less problems with
Mildew.
things like powdery mildew, less more cannabinoids, more terpenes. Um, it does a couple of really interesting things. We don't have all the ins and outs yet. We are still, um, I don't want to say in a research stage, but we love getting data from our customers.
Yeah,
Doing a couple of scientific tests is different than having a product out there. Um, it's
yeah,
also very strain specific. Some strains love UV. They just throw those resin out. We also see strains that have less impact with UV. So we are learning every day. For people who didn't use UV yet, it's going to be cool. This is
and,
why I came back. This is what I'm passionate about.
yeah,
Um,
and
I believe it's something special.
Yeah, and I would say that especially anyone out there who has a lot of lights, it can hurt to throw two or three of these in between and then test a portion of your garden afterwards, or 10 of them, or however big your
Definitely, if people are want to do serious tests, they could come to us. We could talk about that. Definitely help with that. Yeah, I'd love to help people that really want to test in their facility. Yeah, we're there.
Nice. Well, Jair, I can't thank you enough for being on the podcast. And anyone who wants to learn more about DLI and their lighting, you could follow them. We will all our links will be showing up at the bottom of this podcast. And Jair, he's all over the internet. You can't miss him. He's a very entertaining Instagram account, and I suggest you follow him. And again, thank you for everything, man. I so appreciate you, and I can't wait to
Greetings
see you
from
next week.
Amsterdam.
See, I told you this podcast was going to be fun.
Yeah, no, no, it's fun. It's good. It's cool.
It's different. All
Thank
right,
you,
pal.
brother.
Well,